oil and gas, really, that's where a bulk of the action currently resides. How are you looking at crude at this point? Demand, supply, you likely have a great kind of visibility with regard to how everything's playing out in the global macro space as well, in terms of supply as well as demand. What's playing out, and how quickly does probably crude come back, and how much, if at all there's a resolution, say tomorrow?
Okay, so so at least our global commodity team in the near term believes that if the Strait of Hormuz, the reopening is extended, and the base case has kept moving from reopening in May to June to July, and the further it gets extended, we are likely to revisit the highs of crude that we saw, which was around $120. So that's kind of, I would say a 0 to 3 month sort of price target that Citi as a house has. And if you notice over the last 2-3 months since this conflict, crude has broadly ranged between $90 to $120. So we haven't really seen crude going beyond $120. But the caveat here is that what we see on the screen, which is like the ticker price of crude, say Brent, etc., that may not actually be the price that is being paid by refiners. So for instance, Indian refineries could be paying $5, $10 over and above that just because of the higher crude premium we're having to pay. In addition, there are a lot of other higher costs like freight, insurance, etc., which are leading to higher delivered costs. So the one thing is just looking at the headline crude, and which is what markets react to. But in reality, the Indian refineries are paying a lot more. So I would say that's kind of the broad range we are looking at. Now, if and when this conflict does end and supply starts coming back, we are also seeing demand destruction happening, by the way, in certain sectors globally. Jet fuel is clearly there. You have seen a lot of flight cancellations. In petrochemicals, there is demand destruction happening because you don't have the feedstock. So if you have a situation where the conflict resolves, the flows resume, and there is a little bit of a demand impact, then you could see crude coming back even to $80, which is our house view by either end of this calendar year or early next year. So, that's quite important. Now, as far as India is concerned, we haven't really faced a challenge on crude availability. All the companies in their recent earnings calls have all said that physical availability of crude really isn't an issue, but it is, yes, about, the premium they're having to pay. And the other, I think, sort of macro challenge India has been facing is mainly not so much on fuels like petrol, diesel, etc., but it's more on LPG because that's where we are import dependent. But there, I think the government